Hello and welcome to the 51st episode of Fresh Off the Reel. My name is Lib,
And my name is Professor Patrick.
and today we're going to be doing something a little bit like what we did with the Rocky episode. We're going to be talking about all four Indiana Jones movies all in one episode. A little treat for you guys because we haven't recorded in a long time.
Wait, four?
Oh, sorry, only three.
Yeah, only three.
There's
I don't
only
know what you're
three.
talking about. There's only three. They never made a fourth one. Or a fifth.
Speaking of fifth, Dial of Destiny does exist. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, this is actually similarly to the Rocky one. This is similar. This is building into our episode of Dial of Destiny. We plan to see it in theaters, but we haven't. And it comes out on digital like next week, I think. So
Yeah, so maybe we won't even have to watch it in theaters.
we'll see when that happens. It was originally planned to follow this episode, but scheduling lull. It probably won't, but it's gonna come soon.
I was on vacation for 2 weeks. That's one reason why we didn't upload. But hey, you're getting this now.
Yep.
And we're talking about 5 movies in total because we also got backlogged at the end. So get ready. Pull up a seat. You're probably already sitting. I don't know why I said that.
Well, if you're already sitting, stand up and then sit back down. Grab
Yeah.
a seat.
And get some drinks of popcorn, whatever you want. Take a listen. Let's talk about the Indiana Jones movies. Before we start, let's just talk about this franchise as a whole a little bit. It started in 1981, directed by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. You know the guy.
I know him. I've seen movies he's attached to. I have opinions on them.
We have made a solemn vow to never talk about Star Wars on this podcast.
But I get the feeling, at least from me, we will be talking about Star Wars in this episode. But I think this franchise kind of got overshadowed by Star Wars and like the Disney sphere, and I think it deserves a little bit more, a little more attention. You know, like I get it, Star Wars, big franchise, but indie deserves some love too. I think, especially the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, should be held up to the same standard as some of the greats from George Lucas. You know, The Empire Strikes Back and your favorite Star Wars movie here, just inserted there.
Yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark should be up there too. They're very different movies than Star Wars, so I get it. Maybe because the world building in Star Wars was a lot bigger and like grandiose, people got more attached. But it does kind of suck sometimes that this franchise kind of got thrown to the side once Last Crusade came out. Star Wars just continued to take off, and you know. Also, for people in the lovely audience, we're both using new audio setups for this episode. It's the first time we're both doing it.
Yeah.
So this episode might sound different or weird. We apologize.
Yeah, we sincerely apologize, but you know we do sound better than we ever have before, especially back in season 1, Pat with his little Steel series.
I remember those days.
Yeah, you remember those days.
I kind of miss having a headset on my mic.
You mean mic on your headset?
Oh yeah, mic on my headset. Oops. I do kind of miss it sometimes. I might buy a headset just to have in case, like as a backup, but we'll see. And that's not relevant to the Whip Man, Indiana Jones.
The man who whips. So let's get started with Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. You'll notice that the title doesn't even say Indiana Jones. It's kind of like a Rambo thing, where the first movie was called First Blood, and the second movie was called Rambo First Blood Part 2, and the third movie is just called Rambo 3.
I had this, so I learned recently that at least the Disney Plus versions, but I would imagine the physical releases at the time did as well, said like, oh, the title was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, for example. I thought they were always named that. I never noticed, and maybe it's because when I saw them growing up, they had already gotten the new title. But yeah, I learned when we were watching these movies together that like, oh yeah, they didn't have Indiana Jones in the title at the time.
Yeah, the copy I have it on VHS. It says Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, and that's what I remember it being called. I guess it's like Star Wars, right? Like,
Yeah, like New Hope, you know.
and New Hope. We're gonna talk about Star Wars a lot this episode, I think.
Yeah, I think so. There's not a lot of parallels. It's just that George Lucas worked on them both, you know.
Yeah, George Lucas worked on both, and Harrison Ford is a main character in both.
In both, yeah.
Let's get into Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I have it at 4 stars.
I believe I also have it at 4 stars. This is my favorite one.
This is your favorite one?
This is my favorite
This is
one.
my second favorite one. I think one of them we'll talk about later is a little bit better.
Yeah, this one's my favorite. It's 4 stars. Honestly, like right now, if you were to ask, I might raise it to a 4.5. I think this one's really good. I think this is a really, really solid action flick from this era. I think it's shot beautifully. Performances are really good, even from Harrison Ford, which is asking a lot from him.
Yeah, apparently that's asking a lot for him to do good in a role. He actually legitimately enjoys playing as Indiana Jones, which I wasn't expecting from someone like Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and like it's the first one, so obviously like, he didn't have time to hate it yet because it was the first time. But especially like later, and you get to like Crystal Skull, you can really tell that he enjoys playing this character, and it shows in his performance, and it shows here. He's really good here.
It establishes a lot of things about the character just right away. He's a professor at a university. He teaches archaeology, but he's also got this urge, this itch to go out and adventure and find new things. The movie opens with already in the middle of an expedition with a group with Alfred Molina. I didn't
Yeah,
remember him being in this movie.
I also didn't remember him being in this movie, so that was interesting. He aged well.
Yeah, he
Like he
did.
doesn't
Yeah.
look that much older. Like even now compared to what he did then. Like I was like, comparing him mainly to Doc Ock. There's your Spider-Man reference from Pat in this episode. He aged well in those like 20 years. Like good for him.
Yeah, he looks exactly the same. Like good for you, Alfred.
Yeah, 40 years later, he still looks good.
I never referred to him by his first name.
We're friends, right? We're friends with Alfred Molina is our friend, right?
Yeah,
So
we're
we
good
can refer to
friends.
him.
We're good friends. We click.
We go way back. Go back to 2004.
Yeah. Right away in that scene as well, there's a few other things that are already established because Alfred Molina is pretending to be Harrison Ford's friend, but once they get the treasure, he tries to steal it from him because Indiana Jones can't have friends. That's a rule in this series. He can't have friends. All of his friends betray him.
Yeah, greed's a bitch when you're in the treasure hunting business, I guess.
Yeah, and we get that famous scene, like one of the many scenes in this film that should be considered like some of the best scenes in cinema. We got the scene of him running away from the giant boulder, and right before that, there's the scene of him taking the idol and putting the sandbag on the thing. You know, like
Yeah.
and then him running away to get to the airplane while all of the tribes people are chasing him and trying to kill him. The crazy scenes that like were really impressive for the era this came out in. I mean, 1981, like Star Wars was already out. I think even Empire Strikes Back might have already been out. I'm not sure,
81? I don't think so. Let
but
me check.
definitely the first movie was out. That came out in '77. Like what came like the same year as '81. There was Evil Dead, which we talked about on this show before. There was like Escape from New York, Halloween 2. These are the kind of movies that came out in '81. Nothing as grandiose as Raiders of the Lost Ark for sure.
Update: Empire was out. Return of the Jedi wasn't.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
Empire,
Return of the Jedi was '85, right?
83.
'83. Okay. Yeah, so it was going up against big movies, and it delivered. I think it delivered. Even in just this opening scene was just so much action and mystery going with like the treasure hunting and all that stuff. It was really cool to see.
I think technically speaking, it's fantastic for the time. I think like just like the stunt work and like the action, the choreography is leagues above like Star Wars, for example. There it is again. Star Wars and other movies, like other action movies for the time. I think more people need to comment on how good the choreography in this is in this movie. The escape sequences, the I'm gonna call them fights. They're not fights in the traditional sense, but you know what I mean. The action set pieces are really like choreographed very well. I was like very impressed watching this movie, like rewatching it for the first time, especially in like 15 years. I want to say I was really caught off guard with how good these action sequences were.
And I don't think there's any CG in this movie except for the ending. They probably did it practical with the whip, which is really impressive.
It also just leads to more interesting, like again, I'm gonna call them fight scenes. It leads to interesting fights where like just because of the nature of how like weird a whip is in combat, it's not just two guys shooting at each other from like behind cover or like two guys are running with like blades. It just it leads to more fun dynamics with like the background and with how Indy interacts with the enemy, the opposing person with a weapon. It's really cool to see, especially for 81. I don't think the whip ever loses its like magic in a sense. It's just really cool. Even down to like Crystal Skull. Whenever you pulled out that whip and you heard like the whip sound, I'm not gonna imitate it, but you know what I mean. It just feels good. You know, like when you it's like the lightsaber sound effect. You know, like just you hear it and you're like, yeah, I'm in. Like I'm on board. You know, and you hear that whip sound, feels good, and maybe that's why Mr. Han Solo loves this character so much. I'm sorry for all the Star Wars talk. And maybe that's why Harrison Ford loves this role so much, is because it's fun, you know. Harrison Ford never got a Stella lightsaber. He never got to hear the, you know. So like, he got it here though. He got it in Indy.
Well, no, he did use a lightsaber once.
No, but like not like his main weapon. Yeah, he is. But he was a
not
blaster.
as a weapon.
Guns are boring,
Yeah,
even if they're space guns.
because it's not just like two guys shooting at each other. Like he could just one of his strategies, like use the whip on the person's hand, disarm them, and then go for the kill. Or Indiana Jones doesn't really kill with the whip. It's not a killing weapon, but it does do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely kill somebody with a whip.
I don't think he ever kills anyone with the whip in this movie. If he needs to kill someone, he uses a gun.
Yeah, I don't think he ever kills anybody, at least intentionally. Like, he's definitely, like, throwing people off, like, mountains with it, though.
No, he kills people. He killed the guy with the sword.
No, but I mean, like, with the whip.
Oh, with the whip, yeah.
He's never, like, hit someone with the whip and they exploded and died, but, like, he's definitely, like, used the whip to, like, throw them off, like, mountains and shit. And that's a kill. That counts.
Yeah, that's a kill.
+1 for the whip.
This movie also introduces us to Marion. I never learned how to... It's, like, weird. It's, like, Marianne, but with Miriam. Marion, I don't know, but she becomes really important later in the story. But played by Karen Allen.
Yep, she comes back later.
Yeah, she'll come back later. We'll talk about that. But
I forgot
here,
she came back later. If I'm being honest.
Here we're just introduced to her. It's implied that they have history together, but they never really say what it is. And that's another thing I like about this series, is that almost all of the characters we see in all of these movies are people that Indiana Jones has already met before. We don't need their backstory.
We're thrown into a world that's already populated, that's already like lived, so that we're just thrown into the action. And I think for Indiana Jones it works, because like what Indy did before he became a treasure hunter, professor, a whip enthusiast, doesn't really matter, because you're there for the current adventure. And this movie handles that very well, I think.
And then for the villains in this movie, it's the Nazis. There's World War, right before World War II is when this takes place. When the whole series takes place, basically. The only one that takes place after World War II is
Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull, yeah.
And Dial of Destiny, obviously.
Yeah, but Dial of Destiny's like way in the future. These movies take place. I think this movie takes place in the late 30s, early 40s, I think. Yeah, these are period pieces. I completely forgot about that in my rewatch. I completely forgot that these were period pieces. Like, I always thought they took place in the year the movie came out for some reason.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and it's 1936 to be specific.
All right, 1936 was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
A couple of years before the war.
So the Nazis were in power at this point, and they're trying to find the Ark of the Covenant. That's the treasure from this movie. There's supposed to be great riches inside. Well, I wonder if that's what's actually in there. All of the treasures are, like, at least in the original trilogy, except for Temple of Doom, have some kind of religious connection, like the Ark of the Covenant here, and then in Last Crusade it's the Holy Grail.
And then in Temple of Doom it's weird shit.
Temple of Doom is these freaking crystals, not crystal, they're like rocks. We'll get to Temple of Doom. As for the Ark of the Covenant, so the Nazis are trying to get to it. Indiana Jones thinks it belongs in a museum because, he always thinks that. So he's trying to get to it first, and that's the whole plot of this movie. Like, he goes to one character who knows some information, they go to another character who knows other information, and they keep going until they find the Ark of the Covenant. Somewhere along the line, there's always a betrayal, and then he probably will get captured, interrogated. Da, 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 da. This is like the plot structure for an Indiana Jones movie.
Yep. The structure is so like set that they kind of make fun of it in Crystal Skull.
Yeah. And the villains in this movie, Belloc and I forgot the name of the other ones. They're very intimidating. It's kind of like the evil German archetype is basically Belloc in this movie. This movie kind of invented that. Like, with the guy with the German man with the black coat and round glasses, everything in this movie is just done so well. Especially, like, it's so impressive for it being like the first movie in the series made in 1981. There were like treasure hunting movies and like adventure movies that existed before Raiders of the Lost Ark, but this is really the one that all adventure movies are based on.
It's these movies are famous for a reason too. Like there's still callbacks to Raiders specifically to this day in these like similar movies. This movie is great. Honestly, like I struggle to think of things I didn't like about it. Like the one thing, and it's consistent throughout the entire franchise, and I'm assuming it's intentional. I just don't like it. I don't like how the guns sound from these movies.
Yeah, they're like old gun noises,
I think it's the worst in Temple of Doom, where they just kind of sound cartoony. Yeah,
That's like legit what they sound like.
I've never heard a gun go off in real life, so
I mean, it's very easy to record a gun sound for a movie. Just go to a gun range and shoot a gun and record that sound. I don't get why they need to like they don't gotta do that.
It comes off a little like blastery sometimes, but like not enough to take me out of the experience. I think these movies are great, but it's if I have to give a negative to this movie specifically, that's what I'm going for. The others I have more to say negative, but this one, the blasters sound stupid.
I don't really know if I have anything negative to say. I guess like the visual effects during the ending are really weird.
Yeah, but you have the face melting. That looks
Yeah, the face melting looks okay.
cool. It's a meme.
But the ghosts,
like memes. Yeah, the ghosts look weird.
the ghosts look weird. Yeah, like at the end of the movie, they open the ark and it's like all these ghosts come out, and if you look at them, you die. That's the. Just, I've never said that out loud before. This sounds so stupid. You open the Ark of the Covenant, ghosts come out, and if you look at them, you die.
But what if you did that and everything happened the same way, but you were a Lego?
Oh, you were a Lego? They would start dancing. If you look at them, you start dancing.
That's actually what happens in Lego Indiana Jones.
Yes, in Lego Indiana, at least in Lego Indiana was 2. I don't remember what happens in the first one. When they open the Ark, a disco ball comes up, and if you look at the disco ball, you start dancing.
That's amazing.
And the boss fight it happens because the like main guy that opened the Ark, like the main bad guy, he danced so hard that his feet, like there was so much friction on his feet with the ground that he sparked a flame and he caught fire and he became this giant fire monster, and that's the boss.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not a video game podcast, but you should play the Lego games.
I should. One day I will.
Everybody listening, you should also play the Lego games. Yeah, another thing from this movie, there was a lot more of people dying in this movie than I remember. Yeah, again, it's been like a long time since I watched it, but there was so much death and destruction in this movie.
A lot more than I expected, for sure. I haven't seen this in like Lib in a long time, so like I watched this as a kid. Like I was very young, and I feel like this would have stuck with me more.
Yeah.
But no, I was fine with it. I guess there's a silly whip. It's fine, and I never thought about it further.
But there's a lot of people falling off of cliffs, blowing up in a exploding vehicle, face melting, like we mentioned before. A lot of guns. There's a scene where someone has a RPG and blows up a car with it. There's a lot of killing.
Sometimes shit happens.
But the big thing from this movie that will always stick with me is just the adventure. It's just this huge adventure spanning multiple countries, multiple continents. They're going and digging up these huge like underground long forgotten buried structures, piecing together the puzzle, you know, the amulet. It goes on the staff, and you hold the staff during sunrise, and it points to where the arc is. It's that like another really good scene, another fantastic scene from this movie was that one. There's just so much good stuff in the adventure. It really makes you feel like you're exploring these ruins as well as you're watching.
Yeah, it's great. Like I can't stress this enough is how good Raiders of the Lost Ark is. Fantastic.
Yeah, this is such a good movie to start from, and it tells you everything you need to know about basically the entire series. It's just great. It's a great time, great movie.
Yeah, like the only thing that could make it better is if Sean Connery was in it, I guess. But like that's never gonna happen, right? So like,
Yeah, how they gonna get Sean Connery? Like he's too busy doing Sean Connery things.
you know, like imagine this movie but with like Dan Aykroyd. That's never gonna happen, right? So
Yeah,
like,
that can't happen. But you know what? What if Indiana Jones had this little Chinese kid following him around?
never gonna happen.
Yeah, but that would be great. That would be
The
a
only
really
way
cool
to make
thing.
these movies better, but they'll never do it. Oh my god. Speaking of Ke Huy Quan and Dan Aykroyd, whoa, the next movie. But it's worse.
So here we go. We're moving on to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, second movie. Now I was saying this is an outlier. It's the only one that doesn't take place over multiple countries. It's the only one where the treasure isn't something Christian/religious. It's the only one where there's no treasure to be found at all. It's a strange second part movie. I gave it 3.5.
I think I also gave it 3.5. Let me confirm.
Pull up
I,
the
I, I,
movies.
yeah, I should have Letterboxd.
Have the
open.
movies open. We're talking about them right now.
I have the Google entries open, but not Letterboxd.
Yeah, so this one came out 3 years later, and yeah, you know what? It's not as good as I remembered it. So I'll say that.
I don't think it's bad, but something needs to be at the bottom of this trilogy that only has 3 movies. Something needs to be at the bottom. I don't think it's bad necessarily, but I feel like they took this franchise in a different direction for this movie. And clearly it didn't work because Last Crusade kind of goes back to a similar tone Raiders of the Lost Ark had. This one's just kind of silly.
Yeah, they tried making it a comedy, I guess. Like there were some jokes in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there were some scenes that were really funny, but this movie is just trying to be a comedy, and it's weird. The way the movie opens is like there's a like musical number of like someone dancing with a band. There's like I mean there's a great scene at the beginning, when he swallows poison, and everybody knows that scene where he's like, oh, "You don't have the antidote. What antidote? To the poison you just drank." It's such a iconic line.
Weird action scene inside like a restaurant, kind of.
Yeah, in a restaurant in China.
And I get it's fun. Like saying it's silly, it's still fun to watch. Like it's enjoyable. It's just a little too silly sometimes. This one feels like a James. We said it while we were watching it. This feels like a James Bond movie.
Yeah, it really does. It felt like a James Bond movie.
Like Indy in this. I was gonna say his legal name. His name's not Indiana, folks. It's Henry. But he feels like a spy, not a guy after a treasure, not a guy trying to like collect historical objects to like preserve them. He's just a spy.
Yeah.
And no, it's not bad, but it's just weird, you know.
So like the adventure in this one, like they're in India, and they crash landed in India, and they found this tribe, and they're like, "Oh, there's bad people, and they stole our stones. Can you go get them for us?" And he's like, "Sure, let's do it." And then they find the Temple of Doom, and they get the stones, and they bring it back. That's the whole story.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in between. Obviously, it's a movie, but
Short Round is in this one.
Short Round is in this movie.
arguably the second most popular character in this entire franchise.
So Ki Hoi Kwan, this was his first role, I think.
Yeah, I think it was either did this come out or did Goonies come out first?
No,
85 is
it was
Goonies.
this
This was
and then
first.
Goonies.
This first, yeah.
Yeah. So he's great in this movie. He's funny. He's kind of the only one that is actually funny in this movie.
He's really not in much. I'm looking at his filmography right now. Like
Yeah, no, he's not. He was in. I think we talked about this when we talked about Everything Ever All at Once. He was in Temple of Doom, The Goonies, and Encino Man, and then that was it for like 20 years, more than 20 years. And then boom, Everything Ever All at Once, and now he's in a bunch of other stuff.
now he's in Marvel stuff. He's in Disney stuff. Look at him go.
Yeah, he's gonna be in season 2 of Loki, guys. That means we have to watch it now.
Oh yay!
Because he's in it. We'll talk about Marvel at some point, but that's a much bigger conversation for a different time. Right now we're talking about Temple of Doom. So they have to go to this like temple, not the Temple of Doom, but a different kind of, or like a castle or something. They have this. There's this like dinner scene. I want to talk about the dinner scene and how fucking gross it is. Like they get served like brains and like bugs and worms and shit that I don't even think exists in real life.
I don't know. I think they're real.
You know that scene in The Emperor's New Groove where they go to the restaurant, they order like the bug that opens up and then you eat the insides?
I don't remember, but I feel like that's a real thing. If it has to be, right?
I don't think a giant pill bug the size of a lobster exists in real life, but yeah, that's what they were served. And it's just a really awkward scene because the person playing, oh, what's her name? Willie Scott, played by Kate Capshaw. She's the female lead in this movie. She's supposed to be an airhead, you know, like she's not that bright. I don't know why they went for that kind of archetype for Indiana Jones. Like it really, that's another reason why it just feels like a James Bond movie for some reason. Like there's a Bond girl.
She's more Bond girl than research. I want to say assistant, research fellow, or whatever.
Archaeologist.
Archaeologist.
Because Marion's an archaeologist.
Like Miriam felt like she was pursuing like research and like she was there for her own reason, and then this character just feels like a Bond girl who's there because Sean Connery needs a woman to sit next to him while he delivers one-liners.
Basically, yeah.
And boy, does Indy say his one-liners in all of these movies, but this one
yeah,
especially.
He's got some, I can't remember any, but there's some really bad one-liners in this one. And then the weirdest thing that just makes no sense to me, because what's great about Indiana Jones is like there's these huge adventures to find ancient artifacts that may or may not actually exist in real life. There's these sprawling caves and great underground structures and temples, and the movie finds a way to make it make sense. Except for Temple of Doom. Like, even in Crystal Skull, they kind of make it make sense, except for the end, which is crazy, and we'll get to to that. But in Temple of Doom, the entrance to the Temple of Doom is under Miriam's bed in the bedroom. Why is it there? Of all places, why is it there? Why is it not in the throne room of the castle? Or, like, somewhere else where random people can't access it, you know? Also, there's this really weird scene right before they find the entrance to the temple where Indiana Jones and Willie Scott are like trying to have sex with each other, but they're both like, oh, we shouldn't, but we can. It's really annoying.
I just think I have a funny comment to make. Not my idea, but I now that it was pointed out to me, I remember it vividly. But Indy's fucking like really gross this entire movie. Like, there's not one point after the beginning scene where they leave the restaurant where he's not like just drenched in shit and sweat.
Yeah, it's like they doused him in oil for this movie to make him look sweaty.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, though it does make Harrison Ford look hot. I mean, he did do porn, so
he's used to being drenched in shit, I guess.
I think we made this exact joke while we were watching the movie.
Probably. Oh, yeah, for context, we literally we were on Discord one day. I was working. You know,
9-hour shift he was doing.
Yeah, and we just watched all 3 movies back to
And then we watched
you know,
like Crystal Skull at a different point.
and we watched Crystal Skull like 2 weeks later.
It was just like on a whim, just like we were both awake at like 6 a.m. Just like, hey, you wanna watch all three of Indiana Jones movies?
And we did it.
Yeah, we definitely did it. We kind of blazed through them too. Like we didn't even pause them at all. We just went through.
Yeah, no. I mean, one after the other. We finished them before I ended work, so that was exciting.
Yeah, it was an interesting day.
We were gonna watch Crystal Skull, but man, am I happy we didn't.
Yeah,
The Crystal Skull kind of blows. But we'll get there when we get there.
because there was something really surprising to me about Crystal Skull, but we will get to that. Oh, excuse me, we will get to that. But back to Temple of Doom. Yeah, actually, by the way, for context, guys, if you didn't know, Harrison Ford did not get his start from doing Star Wars or Indiana Jones or stuff like that. He did porn, hot porn, sexy porn.
I don't know how true this is. This is a story I heard.
It's true. It's actually true.
Not the porn thing, not the porn thing.
Oh,
But apparently he got his role in Star Wars because George Lucas just saw him doing like a construction job and just offered him the role because he looked the part. And I
wow.
think if that's true, considering how he feels about acting in Star Wars right now, I think that's the funniest thing ever.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
But if he said no and went back to like laying brick that day,
brick.
his whole life would have changed. And maybe it would have been better. It would have been a lot less rich, but it would have been better.
Why is it so hard to get Harrison Ford to actually try?
Like I don't think I've seen a man give less of a shit about his job than Harrison Ford. Like I watched The Force Awakens in theaters, and I was like, man, Harrison Ford really like only came back for that paycheck. He does not give a shit about this franchise.
Yeah, he said it to
He said it. He said it.
He said it. You know, an interesting fact relating to that, but not relating to Indiana Jones or movies in general. There's a game called Payday 2, and Ron Perlman is in Payday 2. He voices a character, and that someone was like, "How did the developers get you to go on Payday?" And then Ron Perlman replied with, "It had a lot to do with that last word in your tweet, payday." He was only there for the paycheck, and I feel like that's what Harrison Ford has been doing his entire life, only acting for the paycheck.
Yeah, I think he did this like Indiana Jones at the first one, and he did Star Wars the first one
Maybe Blade
as the
Runner.
legitimate attempts at like pursuing a career in acting, and it just made him miserable. And it was just out for the money after that.
The only sequel he's ever tried in is Blade Runner, but like even then he's like still like really like monotone the whole time. I guess it kind of makes sense for Blade Runner.
It kind of works for Blade Runner.
We can't spoil Blade Runner right now because we might do an episode on it in the future. Hint, hint. Back to Temple of Doom. They find the temple after Indiana and Willie try to have sex, and they find this Temple of Doom, which is a torture chamber slash mining operation slash child worker place thing. Why is it there? Why does it exist? They never explain it. They never explain why it's there, why they have all these slave children working in the mines, and they also never explain why they have mine carts going off to a cliff face, diving straight into crocodile infested waters. They don't explain anything in this movie. That's one reason why I don't like it very much.
It just kind of happens, but like you're along for the ride, right? So just turn your brain off and enjoy it. And I guess if that's like all you want, then Temple of Doom is fun. It's enjoyable. But I do think as a result, it's the weakest one.
Yeah, even Indiana Jones, he gets possessed by the devil or some shit like that. I don't know. There's some crazy shit in this movie. The main like cult leader guy is able to pull your heart out, and you can still live somehow, and then you get dipped in lava, and then your heart burns. Why does that happen? I don't know. It doesn't help the mining operation. It's not like they need that lava for fuel, so it's like I don't know. This movie just kind of shit just happens, And then like, even the final fight on the bridge could have probably been avoided if only one person had brought a gun. Like if just Willie or Indiana had just had a gun, none of this probably would have happened. He barely even uses the whip in this movie too. Like I can't remember any scenes of him using it.
Raiders is the whippiest movie. I don't think he uses it like at all in Crystal Skull. I genuinely don't remember.
No, he does.
We'll talk about it when we get. I don't remember being in the movie at all.
You were not paying attention very much when we were watching Crystal Skull.
I wonder why.
I mean that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything.
Yeah,
else
if you
to
have
say.
nothing else to say about Temple Doom, we could move on to your favorite one.
Yeah, this is my favorite one. It's also one of my favorite movies of all time. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Well, actually, before we go there, one last thing about Temple of Doom. The ending, I cannot tell you what it was because I don't remember whatsoever. That's the only ending I can't remember of all these movies. Like the ending of Indiana Jones movies are usually pretty big, but this one I can't fucking remember. They bring back the stones and then something happens and that's it.
It sure does end.
Sure does end. Anyways, Last Crusade. Hold on, Pat. I thought you said they could never get Sean Connery.
Wait
a minute.
They did it.
So Sean Connery is here. Oh, we did. We made jokes about Dan Aykroyd being in the last one.
We didn't talk about it at all.
Fuck it. Let's keep it that way. Yeah, fuck Dan Aykroyd. He could keep his vodka.
Dan Aykroyd is a crazy guy, but they really should have. Like, I feel like they were maybe trying to do something with Ke Huy Quan coming back, and maybe when he got older, they would have continued Indy with him. But based on the 2 movies that follow Last Crusade, not featuring him at all, clearly that plan that I made up in my head didn't come to fruition.
There's another plan that happens that didn't happen.
I would have loved to see him come back, though. Charon's one of the best characters in that movie. He's just such a sweetheart. He's a good kid.
He knows how to drive, too.
Knows how to drive, knows how to shoot. He's not afraid to get into the action. He's a good kid.
Yeah, let's hopefully he can maybe come back in Indiana Jones 6 or something. Who knows?
Because they're definitely going to do that. That wasn't sarcasm. They will.
I don't know if they will. I don't think they have enough time with Harrison Ford, if you know what I mean.
No, I think they'll wheel him out on set in a wheelchair. Actually, I think if anything, they're going to wait for him to no longer be able to say no. No, wheel him on set.
Indiana Jones Last Crusade. So Sean Connery joins the cast. It actually is not the first time he plays Indiana Jones' dad. His name is Henry Jones. It's revealed that Indiana Jones is actually a junior. It's actually not the first time that his father was alluded to. In the first movie, he mentioned something about his father also being an archaeologist. A character named I don't remember his name, but it was the guy who works at the university with Indiana Jones. But like they were every movie except for not Crystal Skull. Every movie except for Temple of Doom has a scene of them two in, I think it's Indiana Jones's house.
Maybe I think it's just his office at the school. I don't think it's
yeah, it might be his office or something. Of them talking, and in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he actually mentions his father, and now here he is. We actually get to see him. He gets captured by the Nazis, and Indiana Jones has to go find him and rescue him. That's how the movie basically kickstarts. Also, a little weird that Sean Connery, he's still using his Scottish accent because Sean Connery's Scottish, but he's supposed to be American in this movie. I guess that's one discrepancy from an otherwise fucking perfect movie. I have it at 5 stars.
I have it at 4 stars. So I raised Raiders to 4.5, and this one's a 4.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's so good.
Someone on Letterboxd describes it as the quintessential Father's Day movie.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good Father's Day movie. I like Sean Connery. He's fine in this movie. I don't have an opinion on him as a person, but in this movie, he's fine. My one issue with Henry in this movie is he's kind of an idiot. Even after like he's like rescued and he's like on board with the plan and shit, he's really dumb. And I thought that was weird considering like who he's built up to be and who he is It's kind of weird that he's just kind of stupid.
Well, he's meant to be like a senile old man, like he's rambling on and no one really understands what he's saying.
Yeah, but like when he comes out of it, then he has like he's like I didn't want to say he's a senile old man. I should be nice about it. When he comes out of like his old man like loopiness and he's like being like genuine, he's still kind of dumb, and it's kind of really convenient that things work out the way they do.
I guess so, yeah. I would actually not mind if Disney decided to make an Indiana Jones prequel and the dad is the main character, Henry's the main character. Like I would be down for that. That'd be cool. Like seeing his adventures.
It'd be an easy way to get more money out of this franchise without having to drag Harrison Ford out of bed.
Exactly, yeah. When he gets too old or dies, you know.
And it hasn't stopped them before. Like they did Solo, right? And I don't think he cared. I never looked into it actively, but I don't think he cared that they quote unquote recasted him
He
for
probably
Solo.
didn't.
I can't imagine he did.
I feel like I feel like he wants like absolutely nothing to do with Star Wars. Like he probably doesn't care at all that he got recasted. And that was after The Force Awakens anyways, so I don't think he cared. Yeah, so in this movie, basically everything that made Raise of the Lost Ark so good is back. You know, it's a big sprawling adventure spanning multiple countries, and we get some of the professor side of Indiana and also of Henry, because they were both university professors turned archaeologists, turned adventurers, treasure hunters. And this time there's even more of a risk for them because we're right in the middle of World War II for this one, so it's a very dangerous game that they're playing here, trying to find the Holy Grail. The reason why they're going for the Holy Grail, first of all, is because Hitler's going for the Holy Grail.
Yeah, he's just all right there. That's him.
Yeah, they show him in the movie too.
They don't beat around the bush for that one. It's Hitler's on the move. We gotta find the Holy Grail.
There's one point when Indiana Jones has to steal Henry's journal back, where he has all of his notes pertaining to the Holy Grail, and Hitler signs it. He autographs it. It's an interesting little scene there. I wonder who plays Hitler. Well, I want to see. Let me see if I can find it.
So this movie, well, I want to talk about something we kind of alluded to earlier with I can't remember. I think it's just Julian Glover's character. Oh no, wait, no, it was his friend. What was his friend's name?
Who?
Indy's friend who like is like the triple traitor.
Salah.
Salah. Okay, so it's John Rhys Davis's character. Davies. I butchered that name completely. This movie is the one I referenced earlier when I said that they kind of make jokes about like the double agents, where they're like, "Are you a triple agent now?" And it's like, "No, I lied the first time. I'm just a double agent." No, I'm just evil. I'm not a double agent. I lied. I thought that was really funny.
His name's Michael Shurd. Michael Shurd played Hitler.
It's Hitler.
He was Hitler.
He's like right here. He's like his face is right in front of me too. So I have the cast open on Google, so I have pictures here.
Yep.
River Phoenix plays the young Indiana Jones in this movie. A little guy.
Yeah. The movie actually opens with this like cool scene of young Indiana Jones, and one of his friends. They show how he got his fear of snakes. Oh yeah, we never really mentioned that.
Yeah, we never mentioned. I mean, I think I probably would have. We were talking about it more in Crystal Skull because it's focused on a lot in Crystal Skull for a joke. They harp on him. It's funny. Yeah, it's a thing. He is afraid of snakes. Indiana Jones has something in the wilderness that he's afraid of. It's the little snakes. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, he's not afraid of scorpions. He gets pricked by a scorpion in No, he doesn't get pricked by a scorpion. Mutt gets pricked by a scorpion in King of Crystal Skull, and he doesn't give two shits.
But he has to hold the snake to get out of a thing of quicksand, and I'd rather drown. Maybe I'll touch the floor. No snakes.
Yeah. Speaking of like jokes, like Last Crusade is actually pretty funny as well. Sean Connery's character delivers most of the jokes for some reason. They made him the comic relief. I don't know why, but again, he's a senile old man. It kind of fits.
Well, that's probably why. Because I don't think Sean Connery is particularly a funny actor, but I mean he's playing a funny scenario, right? Where he's essentially a crazy person who's also leading the pack. So it makes for good comedy. This franchise is pretty funny in general. We don't really touch on it too much in this episode, but
Yeah, I found the name of the professor guy that Indiana Jones is friends with. His name is Marcus Brody, played by Denholm Elliott. That's the guy I was talking about before. Anyways, there's always like some kind of Bond girl or whatever, like a love interest. In this one, her name is Elsa Schneider, played by Allison Doody. Oh, she's in RRR? Sick. If you guys haven't seen that movie, you need to. You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh shit, dude.
Suddenly your backlog answer has changed.
I think my backlog answer did change. She, again, betrays Indiana Jones because everybody he becomes friends with betrays him for some reason. She turns out to be a Nazi, and she's also trying to go for the Holy Grail. This is apparently a global effort to try and find the Holy Grail. Even some people at the university are trying to find it. But lo and behold, Indiana Jones finds it. And this goes to my favorite part of the movie when Sean Connery gets shot, and the only way to save him is to get him to drink from the Holy Grail. And there's this like really awesome temple that they need to go through with like obstacles and booby traps, and it's really fun seeing Indiana Jones going through it all, just seeing the adventurous side of him once again. And then once we finally get there, there's a knight from the Crusades. Get it? The Last Crusade. If you guys have ever seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it's one of those knights, one of those guys. I don't know why I went with Monty Python. I could have also just, like King Arthur, Holy Grail, that story, but Monty Python's funny.
I love those movies. They're so fun.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any Monty Python sketches in a long time.
We should watch Monty Python, Holy Grail, and Life of Brian. Those are both really funny.
You could do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Anyways, they get the Holy Grail and everything, and the temple collapses, and just that whole thing of Indiana Jones trying to find the Holy Grail and trying to decide which one is the real Holy Grail. The villain chooses the wrong one, and he doesn't get his face melted, but he like ages rapidly, and it kind of looks like the face melting scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, they did kind of peak with that scene, like in terms of ways to die, and that scene's referenced even to this day.
Yeah.
let's just call back to it, which is I don't have a problem with. I think the effects in that are really really cool.
Yeah, they still hold up.
Yeah, it's a reference for a reason. It works. Yeah, I like this movie. I don't think it's better than Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I do think it's really really good. Again, this franchise should get a little bit more respect than it does because it's genuinely great. The performances here are still solid.
Yeah, the performances are still good. Like even with Harrison Ford,
which by now you'd think he would have stopped caring, but he likes his character, I guess.
Yeah,
at least a little bit.
He probably I don't think he wanted to do Dial of Destiny, but he'd probably rather do Indiana Jones than Star Wars.
Because I heard he wanted to come back. I don't know what that necessarily means, if he asked or if they approached him, but he definitely agreed. And I heard Dial of Destiny's fine. I haven't seen it, but I heard it's fine. Hope it's enjoyable at least. Because I think that's the best way to describe these movies. They're just fun. They're fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, we watched all three of them back to back, and I mean, I didn't get bored for any of them, even for Temple of Doom.
Which is more than I could say about the next movie we'll talk about.
I mean, what are you talking about? That's all of them.
Oh, yeah, it's just a trilogy. You're right.
It's just a trilogy. Indiana Jones was such a great trilogy. It would suck if they ruined it with a stupid story about aliens and shit.
Hey, Lib. They made a fourth one.
Oh, you're right.
It has stupid aliens, and it has
stupid aliens, and it has Cate Blanchett doing a really bad Russian accent.
It also has our favorite Transformers character,
Shia LaBeouf.
Yep.
So, in 2008, for some ungodly, unknown fucking reason...
This is like 20 years later, too, wasn't it? Or like almost?
Yeah, the last movie was 1989. So
almost exactly 20 years
19
later.
Years later, for some fucking reason, they were like, we should bring back Indiana Jones. and we should base it on aliens. We get aliens involved. So then enter Indiana Jones Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which was still directed by Steven Spielberg. It's not like Dial of Destiny is directed by somebody else. Steven Spielberg came back for this one as well. Did George Lucas come back? Yes, he did. He wrote for this movie. Maybe that's why it sucks so much, because he wrote it.
That checks out, yeah.
So, I gave it 3 stars because it was actually a lot better than I remember it.
I gave it 2.5 stars. It was also better than I remember, but I was kind of bored to tears.
We get some returning characters. Marion comes back, and it's revealed that at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, or at some point after Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and Marion were supposed to get married, but then he left her at the altar. I don't remember why. They say why.
The thirst for adventure is never quenched.
Most likely that. But before that happened, they had hot sex and then had a kid. The kid ended up being Shia LaBeouf, so I would understand why Marion would want to keep that away from Indiana Jones, because their kid is Shia LaBeouf. And he's like a biker kid. He's a biker kid from Brooklyn. He's cool.
Yeah, he's just he's a Grease character. You know the movie Grease?
Yeah, he's like, you guys ever seen The Outsiders? He's a greaser from The Outsiders.
Yeah, he's just a greaser.
He fixes bikes. He causes a ruckus, and he's
incompetent. I don't think he's bad in this movie, though. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's a good foil to Indiana Jones. A better foil than his other ones. It's more like Mutt is a complete opposite of Indiana. So they call him Mutt, but his real name is Henry, so it's Henry Jr. Jr. There's 3 Henrys. At the end of this movie, they kind of hint that he's gonna be the next Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I thought that's what they were gonna do. And then when Indiana 5 was announced, this is like before Harrison Ford was confirmed to come back, they just announced they were making another one. I thought Shia LaBeouf was gonna come back too, because the movie ends with like, you know, so we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it ends at like Indy and Miriam's wedding, and you know the hat like gets blown off by the wind, and Shia LaBeouf picks it up, and like, okay, that's the foreshadowing is there, right? Like, it's
like that's the last thing we see before the credits roll, and the credits it's the like classic Indiana Jones theme. It's heavily implying that he's the next Indiana Jones.
But nope. Not only is he not the star of Battle of Destiny, he's not even in it.
Yep, he's not even in it.
I don't know if Shia LaBeouf acts anymore.
I have no idea.
I mean, he was in Honey Boy a couple years ago.
Yeah, let me see newest first. He was in a movie called Padre Pio last year. Is the end of World War I?
Yeah, he might not do big budget Hollywood movies anymore.
You think Transformers ruined Hollywood for him?
I think Hollywood being the worst ruined Hollywood for him.
Yeah, that checks out. You're right.
He did have his breakdown a couple of years after this movie came out too. So I'm sure that didn't help whatever prospects of a career he wanted to have in movies, you know. But he's in the movie, and he's fine for the most part. I do like his dynamic with Indy a fair bit. I like earlier in the movie, because he meets Indy and they bond over the fact how they both kind of seek for adventure, and he dropped out of school because he wanted to follow his dreams, and Indy's like, yeah, you should do that. And then he finds out he's his son. And say, never mind, go back to school. I'm a fucking professor. I'm not gonna have my kid be a dropout.
Yeah, that was actually really funny. Like, the thing that surprised me was this movie really made me laugh.
Yeah, it's funny.
Like, it's a good comedy. It's a better comedy than Temple of Doom was trying to be. The jokes really land. I again, like Pat said, I really like the dynamic between Indy and Mutt and Marion. The 3 they really have a lot of chemistry together, and you could tell that they like acting together. Like the actors, they love acting together. You could really tell.
Yeah, they had good on-set chemistry. It's enjoyable to watch. Obviously, when you're watching 2 leads act together, you want them to have chemistry, and I think it works here.
Yeah, he really feels like Indy's son, Mutt. He really feels like Indy's son. So great acting from the three of them, which is a lot more I could say about Kate Blanchett in this movie. Which is surprising because Kate Blanchett is an excellent actress, one of the best actresses ever, I think. But in this movie, I don't know if it was like the accent because it sounded like she was trying to seesaw between German and Russian and some kind of mix or like amalgamation of a bunch of different languages and accents put together. I don't know if it was her acting coach or I don't know what they're called for accent coach for this movie. Maybe she just didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the role, but her performance is really really lackluster.
Yeah, it's like I feel like she was trying to do a genuine accent, but she kept dropping it.
Yeah, one like, and it would be put between sentences. Like she would say something with a Russian accent, and all of a sudden the Russian accent's gone, and she just sounds American. You know?
It's really noticeable, like way more noticeable than I remembered it being. Like I didn't remember having an accent to begin with, and she kind of doesn't because she drops it so much.
Yeah. So that really took me out of the movie. Like her name was Spalko. Spalko really took me out of the movie. Another thing that I didn't like very much from this movie was there were this movie hinged too much on Raiders of the Lost Ark. There was a lot of references to Raiders of the Lost Ark and a lot of things that come back from Raiders that like it feels like they were just trying to remake Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The arc is like directly mentioned.
Yeah, like at the end, the very end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, another amazing scene from it that should be more evidence that this movie should be in like halls of fame and all that shit. At the very end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Ark of the Covenant gets locked away and put in a warehouse. At the very beginning of this movie, we go to that warehouse to try and find the box that they left the crystal skull in, because this isn't the first time Indy has seen it. And they show the Ark. It's there in the warehouse.
Yeah, it's just not even like subtle. It's in your face. Like there it is.
There it is. There's the Ark. There's the Ark. Remember Raiders of the Lost Ark?
And but that's not even like close to some of the worst things in this movie. Because then there's the actual like story of the crystal skull, the object, not the title. It kind of sucks. We made jokes about aliens, but like this movie actually is just aliens.
Yeah, apparently these aliens, they came down to Earth and this ancient civilization worshipped them, and this crystal skull is an actual skull from an alien skeleton. And it's magnetic only when the movie needs it to be. But I have to say, the like journey and the adventure, like going through the ruins and the caves and all that stuff, is actually the best in the whole series, in my opinion, in this movie. I really, really liked all the scenes where they're in ruins and caves and stuff like that. Like, it really feels like it's like a dangerous, abandoned, ancient ruin. Like, especially the one where they find the actual skull. Like, the one where it's just Indy and Mutt, they just went, you know? The first one they went to. I really like that part. And I also really like the part where they're in the giant skull mountain thing. And they have to, like, open the door, and then there's also like the room filled with artifacts with another door they have to open with like a puzzle they have to solve. I like those scenes. I think those are some of the best of the cave dwelling / adventuring, whatever, treasure hunting scenes in the whole franchise.
Yeah, I like them, but I don't think they're better than the movies that came before it. I think they're like enjoyable though. They're not awful.
The actual skull, though. This is the treasure in this movie. This one's just like stupid. This is dumb. It's aliens. John Hurt is in this movie, and he's wasted in this movie because he plays a crazy person who's worshiping the skull, and he's kind of just like there for no reason. I mean, well, it's not for no reason. He's Mutt's professor or something like that. I don't know. There's some weird like relationship he has with Mutt. I think he's like his father figure or something. Speaking of fathers, it's also confirmed in this movie that Sean Connery died right before this movie takes place. and it's kind of Indy's like that's kind of like the thing he needed to be like, okay, now I'm finally ready to retire. My father's dead, you know. But this brings him out of retirement because they got to start doing that trope now because Harrison Ford is old,
One last time before they did it again.
and maybe a sixth time. Who knows?
I hope not.
Me too. Me neither. I hope not.
If it's not Kiwi Kwan or Mr. Transformers, I don't want it. I don't know why I was gonna say Mr. Lebowski. That's the wrong movie.
Let's talk about the ending. Let's talk about the ending. Okay.
Aliens.
Aliens for real.
But actually,
the whole thing.
CGI aliens.
If you bring the skull to these like council of aliens, they will tell you all of the world's information, but all the universe's information. But it's so like it's so much too much for humans to handle that if it happens, then you would just die of brain rot. But Spalko doesn't care, so she does it. So it's all the alien skeletons merged together. It turns out the room they were in was actually the like cockpit of a UFO, and the CGI alien with it looks gross.
It's some of the worst CGI I've seen in a big budget film. It looks awful.
This is like Paramount, Lucasfilm, the same people who made Star Wars. And those movies have really good special effects, even like the original trilogy. And they couldn't do an alien? There's aliens in Star Wars. Well, granted, the aliens in Star Wars are puppets and costumes, but why couldn't they do that for this? They had to do CG?
It's amazing how just awful it looks. It's honestly impressive. Because like Lib said, like they've done movies with aliens, but also it's the most like generic, like gray humanoid alien. It just looks awful. Like it looks so bad that it takes you out of the experience.
Like when it happened, because we were like, all right, here we go. It's time for the alien scene. We were just like, I was amazed. I couldn't stop laughing, seeing how bad this alien looked, and just like they had to. There's the last scene in the movie is Indiana Jones and like the rest of his group staring into the distance, and this UFO comes out of the ground in El Dorado. Yeah, they find El Dorado in this movie. That's where this all happens. And it just flies off. A fucking futuristic UFO. Aliens!
I must go. My planet needs me. Aliens!
This is the worst of the worst. And somehow there are people who defend this movie and defend this ending.
There was people saying that Dial Destiny is the worst Indiana Jones. Maybe Dial Destiny is bad. Maybe it's bad. I haven't seen it. But it can't be worse than this one. It just can't.
There's no way it's worse than this. Literally no way.
The only way is like, 'cause this movie's funny bad. The only way for it to be worse is if it's just bad, but it can't be because people are speaking positively of it, at least a little bit.
Yeah, like just looking on Letterboxd, the average is 3 for Dial of Destiny. For King of Crystal Skull, it's 2.6. So more people are saying Dial of Destiny is good, but there are some people that are saying it's worse than this movie. I can't see how.
Nostalgia. It has to be.
I mean, it has to be nostalgia, maybe. Because there's some delusional people out there, I'm going to use the word delusional, who think the prequels are good now because the sequels sucked so much. Like,
hey, listen, I like the pod racing scene, okay?
Look, I will agree that Episode 3, Star Wars Episode 3, is the least bad, but it's still bad. It's still bad.
Like both of the prequels and the sequels can be bad, guys. Like they both.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one is great, one is okay, and one is bad. There could be one that is great, the original trilogy, and the other two could just suck. It's okay. That could happen. This is why we don't talk about Star Wars on the podcast.
One day we'll do it.
Because
the next drunk episode will be Star Wars.
That's actually a good idea. Oh man, that's actually a fantastic idea. Let's do that.
We totally could.
Oh man, but that's all. That's pretty much all I have to say about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
It's just a nothing movie. Like I felt nothing when we finished that movie.
Yeah, like the wedding scene, and then that was it. Boom.
It's just boring.
It's so boring. Nothing happens. There's no there's no resolution to the story to the story. Like even in Indiana Jones, this movie or Last Crusade, I can't remember which one, where he was like about to lose his job. He might have lost his job as a
It's
professor.
it's this one, I
It's
think.
yeah, I think it's this one. But like he keeps his job. In fact, he gets
Gets
promoted
promoted. He
from
gets
being a
promoted.
teacher to overseeing the entire school.
I might be wrong. I think it might be Crusade. I don't remember. I actually don't remember.
I don't remember, but that's like there's no resolution to the story. It just exists. It just is. This movie just is.
They get married.
Yeah, they do get married at the end, and Miriam does come back in Dial of Destiny, right? Like Karen Allen is Cassidy. Yeah, Marion, she's in the movie. She's in the poster too. I see her here. So actually that might not be Miriam, I don't know. But we will watch Dial of Destiny. That is a definite thing because we both genuinely love Indiana Jones. It is a good franchise. If you just forget about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, like there is no way Dial of Destiny is worse. If you just forget about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because I am 100% certain, even without watching Dial of Destiny, that you could still enjoy it without having seen Crystal Skull. The only thing you need to know is that Indiana Jones and Miriam get married and they have a kid. That's all you need to know. You probably don't even need to know the kid part because Mud is not in the movie. So, not even that.
He should have been.
Yeah, he should have been, actually. He should have been. But with that, that's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that's all 4 movies. Next time we talk about Indiana Jones, it'll be for Dial Destiny because the plan is still to cover that on the podcast. So look forward to that if you want to hear our thoughts for the final Indiana Jones movie potentially.
Let's actually hope it is because just let it die. It didn't even need a 5th movie. It didn't need a 4th.
True.
Before we end off, let's rank them. Let's start with you. You rank from worst to best.
So worst is Crystal Skull, then it's Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best one in my opinion.
So mine is the same, only a small difference. I just switch out 2 movies. Crystal Skull's the worst one, then Temple of Doom, then Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then my favorite is Last Crusade. I don't know why it just has that edge over, just that little edge over Raiders. I think it's just Last Crusade. It's just maybe it's Sean Connery. I just love Sean Connery. Maybe it's the Holy Grail. Maybe it's just the whole adventure is maybe more entertaining for me. But I don't know. But Raiders of the Lost Ark. If I could have 2 at number 1, then they would both be at number 1 for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
What about you? Why do you think Raiders is better than?
I just think it's a tighter movie. I think the action is better. I think the choreography is better. I think Harrison Ford's at his best in that movie in terms of performance, but like also because he's not pissed off yet at life.
That's true.
I just find it the better movie overall, the better Indiana Jones experience. Not to say Last Crusade's bad. It's number 2.
Of course, yeah. Like I do think if we're talking about which movie is better at being like an Indiana Jones movie, then Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best one for that. But I just think Last Crusade's a better movie in general.
Well, that's fair. They're both good. Two legends can coexist.
And with that being said, thank you very much, Harrison Ford, for acting in Indiana Jones because this is legit probably one of my favorite film franchises ever. Like it's just like that person on Letterboxd that he said that these are like really good Father's Day movies. 100% agree.
Yeah, I got into this franchise because of my dad. He loves these movies.
Yeah, me too. My dad introduced me to them. He introduced me to Star Wars as well. So like all around, like thank you, fathers of the world. Now we have to show Indiana Jones to our kids. That's what we have to do when
but only the first 3.
Yeah, only the first 3. That's gonna be it for Indiana Jones. Great franchise. If you, for whatever reason, have never watched an Indiana Jones movie, do it. Watch them all, except for Crystal Skull. Now we're gonna move on to our little segment here on TV shows that still doesn't have a name. And the only thing we have to talk about here is Secret Invasion. It ended.
It ended. We both said we weren't gonna watch it, and then we both watched it.
Yeah, we both watched it. I only watched it after all the episodes were already out, though. It's not good. Not
Yep.
good.
I think before the finale, it's like fine. It's like a 5 out of 10, and then with the finale, it becomes a 4.
Yeah, the finale was a huge clusterfuck of random Marvel bullshit, and everything that makes the MCU bad is in that last episode.
It's bad cape shit, and it's a shame because the show wastes a bunch of really talented actors and a lot of solid performances. I like the whole like kind of mystery thriller aspect of it, but that ending just kind of blows.
Everybody's like the Skrulls are this crazy race of people that could, they could be literally anywhere. That is true, but it makes a bigger impact in the comics when they actually have shit they can do. In the MCU, oh, Rhodey was a Skrull the whole time. That doesn't really change anything.
It doesn't change anything except it just kind of makes certain moments worse. Like I get it, like a Skrull could be anybody, even a friend grieving for someone they don't technically know because they're Skrulls. But like it just cheapens moments like Tony's death, knowing that Rhodey wasn't actually Rhodey. Like I get it, I understand the point, but it doesn't make it any less cheap.
For me, it's not the worst MCU show because I think The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is worse.
I think it's the worst Disney Plus show. Yeah, it's not something I'm ever gonna revisit. That's for sure.
There is a second season of Loki coming out. We only mention it because Kiwi Kwan is in it, but it's gonna follow and like build up to what's his name, Kang the Conqueror. I was about to say Drax the Destroyer. That's a completely different person. But yeah, so Kang is gonna be in it, and it's apparently the same Kang as Ant-Man. It's not a Kang variant. It's the same exact Kang from
Wait,
Ant-Man.
really?
Yeah, they said that.
That's weird. All right.
He didn't die at the end of the movie.
Well, that I expected, but I didn't think he'd come back so soon.
In a TV show, no less. I'm thinking like this season of Loki, season 2 of Loki, is probably going to be the most important MCU show in terms of the lore and the story that they're trying to do for Secret Wars, just because Kang is going to be in it.
I don't agree. I think it's going to be a bunch of one-off Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah, but how are they going to implement that?
Kang will just be in it, but I don't think he's going to matter. That's my take. I think we're getting a season of Doctor Who starring Tom Hiddleston.
I don't know. We'll see, because I'm pretty sure this season is going to explain Kang and like his goals and why he's doing all this shit.
We'll see. The season starts soon, I think.
Yeah,
right?
it starts in like November, I think.
Oh, I thought it was like this month. Okay.
Oh no. It's October 6th. It comes out October 6th.
Okay, it's still a little ways away.
But yeah, so when that comes out, we will be talking about it in the TV show segments, because I'm pretty sure we're probably just gonna watch that, because I do like Loki. Season 1 was not bad.
Yeah, I'll be watching that. I might wait for it to end. We'll see, but I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Yeah, we'll see. Now it's time to move on to Backloggd, the segment where we recommend each other movies to talk about in the next episode. Last time, Pat recommended me. What was that word I just said?
I recommended you.
Pat recommended me No Country for Old Men, and I watched it when I was pulling an all-nighter because I was bored.
I meant to rewatch it and I didn't.
Well, sucks for you, because this movie was amazing.
That's great, man.
Yeah, I gave it 5 stars.
I also gave it 5 stars.
This is a really, really good movie. It's a modern Western, which is interesting. It takes place in the 90s, I think. It's based off of a book from the same name. I did not know that. I did not know that it was a book, but knowing that it's a book makes the ending make a lot more sense, because book endings always tend to be a little vague. The only problem I really have with this movie is the ending. I don't really like it very much. The part I'm talking about is when Tommy Lee Jones and I think it's his brother or something, like the guy in the wheelchair, they're just like talking, and this is after everything is already done. This is after the main character. It's after the main character dies, and it's after we see the killer for the last time, like after like he crashes and the kids help him. And it's just like him and his brother just shooting the shit, and then there's a time skip, and then it's him and his wife shooting the shit, and then the movie ends. I don't really get that ending very much.
Well, it's like things just go back to normal, right? And
I guess so, yeah.
life moves on, you know?
It didn't lessen the movie. That's not what I'm saying. It's still a 5-star movie. I love like the casting in this movie is damn near perfect. Like Tommy Lee Jones was amazing. Javier Bardem, it was an excellent. I can't imagine anybody else playing as Anton. He is terrifying. He is a terrifying person.
They picked the perfect actor who looks peaceful but is terrifying. Every time he walks on screen, you're just like you're worried something is gonna happen.
Like he is a cold-blooded killer.
It's honestly like one of the best movies I've ever seen. I watched it for the first time for a film class in college, and I've been in love with it ever since.
Yeah, it was such a crazy fucking movie. There was no music whatsoever except for the end credits had a song, and it was actually a really nice song. I would say the name of it if I knew it.
Everything in the movie is all natural sounds, and it adds another layer to how awesome this movie is. The sound design is perfect.
And there's some stuff that are left to be like left in ambiguity. It's never said how the main character dies. You're led to believe that it was the Mexican mafia, but you don't know for sure, right? Same thing with the main character's wife, Carla Jean. It's left to interpretation if you want to know, like if she's dead or not, because the movie doesn't show it. I think she is. The main evidence, basically, I think she is because everything Anton says, he means literally. That's stated throughout the whole movie. You could really, well, not stated, show don't tell, right? You could see it throughout the whole movie. Speaking of show don't tell, this is like probably the shining example of show don't tell. Like I can't, like I get why film teachers love this movie so much.
Yeah, it is. It is a I went to film school kind of movie,
Yeah.
but like not in a bad way. It's so good. I genuinely love this movie.
Everything he says he takes literally, and like the deal he made, what's it, Llewellyn, played by Josh Brolin. The deal he made with Llewellyn was that he either hands over the money or he kills his wife. But Javier did not Javier, that's the actor's name. Anton did get the money, but it wasn't given to him by Llewellyn, so he still had to go kill the wife. He even says in that scene, he says that he has a deal he has to hold up. And also she refuses to call a coin toss. That alone probably means like, okay, he probably just killed her. Because Anton respects the coin toss, which is an interesting character trait that he respects the coin toss. Like, cause there's a scene with the guy in the gas station, and he wins the coin toss, so he spares his life, which is an interesting thing. I don't know what the implication for that is, but apparently, what's the word? Is psychotic people, like they actually do that. Like they don't just kill to kill, because that's a serial killer. Psychotic killers, they kill because they want to, and they plan it out, and all that stuff. Like they have in their heads a reason for doing this. And apparently I think it was Cambridge University did a study to see which movie had the most accurate psychotic killer, and it was this movie. Anton was the most accurate to real cases of psychotic killers.
I believe it. He's great.
Yeah, which is scary. This is scary.
Which is terrifying. Yeah, it is terrifying, but it brings such a neat experience to the film.
I wouldn't full on say that this is a horror movie. It's more of a thriller.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not a horror movie.
It is scary. It is scary, I would say. Because every time Anton comes on screen, you know something bad is about to happen. Even the main character isn't safe from Anton, and he has plot armor. Yeah, but it turns out he doesn't, because he dies at the end, so... Well, there you go. That was No Country for Old Men. A great recommendation. Thank you, Pat.
Oh, no problem.
So now I'm gonna recommend you a movie. So before I am recommending you RRR, because
okay.
I am gonna recommend you RRR. Do you want to know what I was gonna recommend you?
Yeah,
before?
sure.
Okay, I was gonna recommend you Apocalypse Now,
Oh, okay.
but then we mentioned RRR before, and you said you hadn't seen it. I was like, what? We're gonna
Here,
right that wrong.
I'll watch both.
You're gonna watch both?
I'll watch both.
All right, yeah. I guess we'll have two movies to talk about for Backloggd next time.
Mix things up a little bit.
All right, well, we'll do Apocalypse Now and RRR. I'm gonna rewatch RRR as well because God, that movie's so good. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Fresh Off the Reel. If you liked it and you want to hear more, then make sure to follow us on social media so you never miss an episode. You can find it on the link tree. That's linktr.ee/Fresh Off the Reel. No spaces, no caps. You could follow us on Twitter. Oh, I guess it's not called Twitter anymore, isn't it?
Follow us on X.
Follow us on X. I'm still gonna call it Twitter.
Yeah, it's still Twitter.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm still calling it Twitter. Fuck you, Elon. You can't change an old habit. So follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Oh, I guess that. Oh no, that's still called Instagram. Threads is something else.
Yeah, Threads is something else. Threads is dead anyway, but
Yeah, it died the moment it lived. Man, what is the world coming to? What is going on?
like Threads is still active. I think they lost like 80% of their user base in the first like couple of days. It's
fuck?
basically dead.
Oh man. But also on the link tree, you'll find our Letterboxd accounts. So you could follow us there to check out what movies we've been watching.
Yeah, I plan to watch a lot more movies soon just because I've been slacking this year. I'm gonna be honest, guys.
Yeah, me too. We're sorry. We've literally only been watching movies for the podcast at this point.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start making my way through all my 2023 movies that I added.
Yeah, and maybe you'll hear about those.
We have a little something extra coming soon to the podcast. Some in between content between our regular uploads, but we'll get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for some bonus episodes.
I expect in the future some bonus content for all you lovely fans.
Yes, sir. On the link tree, you will also find a form you could fill out to recommend us a movie or a TV show. We'll take that recommendation and make an episode about it. So keep those recommendations coming. And with that being said, thank you all very much. And we will see all of you in a theater near you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So the love interest, quote unquote, like love interest, whatever. There's always a like love interest / Bond girl in. Why?
What?
I got a notification. All right.
You should read it.
Jasper Saint Denis has made a post you haven't seen.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
Facebook notification.
Nice.
All right, that one's for you, Jasper. I know you're listening.
Star Wars just continued to take off, and
Whoa, what the fuck just happened?
what?
Your mic did something pretty crazy there.
Well, what did it do?
I don't even know how to explain it.
All right. Well,
It just did something weird.